Good morning. Welcome to Frank's School. This is a 6-year, 50th day first video. I've been referring to the impossible garden. I just finished dealing with water wheels, and I had a chart up here showing where they're going to be, and I pointed out that there was a place I called the impossible garden. Well, what I want to deal with today is why am I calling it, why do I say it's an impossible garden? Well, first of all, I should maybe say this. The soil is terrible. It's clay. It's the kind of clay that cracks that wide. As soon as it starts to get a little bit dry, I'd almost say that there's no topsoil there because I'm not sure. There's just so much clay, and it's been so ravaged by what's happened in the past that I can't count on there really being topsoil. So you see, it's below where there were iron mines, and the drainage is coming through there, and all that mining, everything was so disrupted. Now, if it were coal mines, that would be even more impossible. Iron doesn't really foul the water. There's not the sulfur, but still, the problem is the soil's terrible. Okay. Now, and if you wonder why would I even try, well, if you see these videos, an inconvenient set of values, I have this set of values, which makes this almost the only kind of gardening I can happily do. That one, the 5th year 119th day, and the 5th year 120th day, where I go on and say, well, what are those values? All right, so why is it impossible? Well, because of my values, I am not interested in using fossil fuels of any kind. I don't own a riding mower. So engines, imagine gardening now if there are no engines are available and no electric motors either. Well, that ends up meaning that essentially, unless you're going to go into the horse-drawn stuff, which I'm not, it's too small for that, it wouldn't work for that. So there's no plowing, there's no disking, there's no harrowing, there's no strim trimming, there's no rototilling. You know, how do you garden without a rototiller? So many people would probably say it's impossible. No mowing, push mower or riding mower, except with a scythe. I mean, yeah, you could. That's acceptable to me. So none of these. How do you work the soil up? No pumped water. Well, by pumped water, I mean like if you have a house and a faucet and a hose, probably, at least in the countryside, you've got a well. And the water is brought up from a well by an electric pump. That's that fossil fuel. So no, you're not, I mean, you can water the garden, sure, but not by using electricity to pump water up. So no pumped water. Obviously organic. I mean, I would not use chemicals. I just could not bring myself to do that. No herbicides, no insecticides, no fertilizer. Yeah, I just would not do that. And so it would be able to be called organic, and I suppose, but that's just sort of the way I think. Well, for one thing, fertilizer, nitrogen is the principal ingredient there in a lot of ways, and that's fossil fuels. Nitrogen is made by the use of enormous amounts of natural gas. So no fertilizer. No complete fencing. I don't really have this fenced effectively. I mean, I started to, and I'd seen once in Germany a sign that said the most important part of a garden is the fence. I don't think so. It's important, I think. But the most important thing about a garden is water. And sunlight, but water. So no complete fencing. Now, if you think about that, all the people around here who love the garden, and there are a lot, how could you garden then? I also am not, I would add no hoeing. Hoeing. In Brazil, I brought back from Brazil some what I think of as real hoes. Not without the handles, but they're heavy. You swing them almost like an axe. And you could use that maybe in this ground. But this ground, it's so, at least it started with, it was so hard in the summer that it was like concrete. And in the spring and winter, I would sink in clear to my knees. That's how poorly drained it was. So really, even if I had wanted to plow it, I really couldn't have plowed it. So I'm not gonna be very interested in the hard work of hoeing. So since I have no real fence, get out of there, cat. Get. Uh, Welcome goats. I mean, I may actually start feeding my goats in my garden to get the goats to come in. The deer, they're nothing to keep them out. I've got a horse. The horse goes in periodically. Cows, they have shown no interest so far, but they're welcome. They're a bit heavy-footed, but raccoons, I can't keep them out. Opossums, can't keep them out. Skunks, I rather hope that I don't get porcupines. Porcupines, when you've got a dog, porcupines are a problem. Turkeys, rabbits, I can't keep any of them out, so in they come. And add to this that it's big. I would estimate 20 by 50 yards. That's half a football field. It's really big. So how do you do it? How can you garden like under those conditions? Well, I'm going to go on to show you that making this impossible garden possible, I think, is possible. And really, when you think about all this kind of stuff, for 4,000 years, that's the way people have gardened. So it must be possible. Cat, it must be possible. But I'll go on with that. Anyway, there are the limitations that I have been given and have kind of laid on myself because of my values and my finances. I don't own a string trimmer. I don't own a rototiller. I don't. It's far too far away from the house to be able to use the household well to pump water to it. I don't really have money to fertilize. It'd be a waste. This I simply couldn't do. So, and the fencing, I could spend a fortune trying to fence it in a modern kind of a way, but I'll get around to finishing it eventually for other reasons, not so much to keep these animals out. But all right, there it is. Why do I call it the impossible garden? And it's to be continued. Bye for now.